Hello everyone and welcome to my YouTube channel. My channel is all about Germany. If you're new and like more contents like this, please consider to subscribe. This video is for educational purposes only. I do not and cannot promote racism. Germany, a nation renowned for its contributions to art, philosophy, and industry. Yet beneath its achievements lies a dark undercurrent, a legacy of racism that has haunted its past and continues to cast a shadow on its present. The late 19th century saw Germany, a latecomer to the colonial race, embark on a path that would sow the seeds of racial prejudice. Its colonial ambitions in Africa and the Pacific were accompanied by the propagation of racist ideologies, justifying the subjugation and exploitation of colonized peoples. The horrors of the Nazi era, with its systematic extermination of Jews, Roma, and other minorities, stand as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of unchecked racism. The fall of the Third Reich did not mark the end of racism in Germany, but rather a transition into a new era of challenges. As the 19th century reached its zenith, Germany found itself a newcomer to the scramble for colonies. Unlike its European counterparts, who had long established overseas empires, Germany's colonial endeavors began in earnest only in the 1880s. This pursuit of empire, however modest, had profound consequences. It fueled a sense of national pride, but also ignited a dangerous ideology of racial superiority. German colonial ventures were accompanied by the systematic exploitation of colonized peoples and the propagation of racist theories that sought to justify their subjugation. Within Germany itself, a significant Polish minority resided, primarily in the eastern regions of Prussia. The concept of Lebensraum, or living space, began to take hold, advocating for the expansion of German territory and the displacement of inferior races. Discriminatory policies were enacted, aimed at suppressing Polish language and culture. Schools were forced to teach in German, and Polish newspapers faced censorship. This systematic oppression of the Polish minority created a climate of fear and resentment. The seeds of hatred sown during this period took root in fertile ground. Economic downturns and social anxieties in the late 19th and early 20th centuries provided a breeding ground for extremist ideologies. Groups like the Pan-German League and other nationalist organizations gained prominence, espousing virulently racist views and advocating for aggressive expansionism. The humiliation of Germany's defeat in World War I further inflamed nationalist sentiments and fueled resentment toward minorities who were often scapegoated for the nation's woes. The rise of the Nazi Party in the 1920s and 1930s marked a turning point in German history and a catastrophic escalation of racist ideology. Adolf Hitler and his followers preyed on the economic anxieties, social divisions, and nationalist fervor that gripped the country following World War I. The Nazis skillfully exploited existing prejudices and offered scapegoats for Germany's problems, blaming Jews, Roma, LGBTQ+ individuals, and other minority groups for the nation's misfortunes. The Nazis promised to restore German pride, revive the economy, and create a racially pure and powerful nation. The Nazis' rise to power was swift and brutal, culminating in Hitler's appointment as chancellor in 1933. Once in power, the Nazi regime moved quickly to implement its racist ideology, transforming Germany into a police state where terror and propaganda reigned supreme. Jews, targeted as the primary enemy of the German people, were subjected to a systematic campaign of persecution and dehumanization. The Nuremberg Laws, enacted in 1935, stripped Jews of their citizenship, outlawed marriage and sexual relations between Jews and non-Jews, and marked the beginning of a relentless descent into barbarity. The violence reached a horrific crescendo on Kristallnacht, the night of broken glass, on November 9th to 10th, 1938. The outbreak of World War II in 1939 marked a catastrophic escalation of Nazi Germany's racist agenda. The war provided cover for the regime to unleash its full genocidal fury, not only on Jews, but also on Roma, LGBTQ+ individuals, people with disabilities, political opponents, and anyone deemed an enemy of the state. The Holocaust, the systematic annihilation of 6 million Jews, stands as the most horrific example of the devastating consequences of unchecked racism. The Nazi regime's crimes against humanity left an indelible scar on the conscience of the world. The defeat of Nazi Germany in 1945 brought an end to the regime's reign of terror, but the legacy of its crimes cast a long shadow over the country. The Allied powers, led by the United States, Britain, and the Soviet Union, oversaw a process of denazification seeking to purge Germany of its Nazi past and bring war criminals to justice. The Nuremberg trials held between 1945 and 1949 exposed the horrific crimes of the Nazi regime to the world and established a precedent for holding individuals accountable for crimes against humanity. Despite the challenges, West Germany, under Chancellor Konrad Adenauer, embarked on a path of economic recovery and democratic renewal. The post-war division of Germany into East and West further complicated the nation's reckoning with its past. East Germany, under communist rule, adopted a narrative that downplayed the role of German society in the Holocaust, instead framing it primarily as a crime of capitalism. The fall of the Berlin Wall in 1989 and the reunification of Germany in 1990 ushered in a new era of hope and possibility. However, the reunification process also brought to the fore long-simmering tensions and exposed the persistence of racism and xenophobia in German society. The specter of racism in Germany found a new vessel in the 21st century with the rise of the Alternative für Deutschland, or AfD, a far-right political party. Founded in 2013 as a Eurosceptic party, the AfD initially capitalized on anxiety surrounding the Eurozone crisis and Germany's role in bailing out struggling economies. However, the party's platform soon expanded to encompass a wider range of right-wing populist themes, including anti-immigration sentiment, Islamophobia, and a revisionist view of German history. The AfD's success in tapping into these anxieties propelled the party into the German Bundestag, the federal parliament, for the first time in 2017, marking a watershed moment in German politics. For Black immigrants in Germany, the rise of the AfD has meant facing increased challenges and discrimination, making their journey towards acceptance and equality even more arduous. The AfD stronghold in the former East Germany reflects a complex interplay of historical, economic, and social factors. The legacy of communist rule, which suppressed dissent and limited exposure to diverse cultures, left many East Germans feeling isolated and ill-equipped to navigate the challenges of a rapidly changing world. The economic disparities between East and West Germany, while narrowing, persist decades after reunification. The AfD's anti-immigration rhetoric, often laced with Islamophobic undertones, resonated with some Germans who viewed the influx of refugees as a threat to their national identity and cultural cohesion. The rise of racism and xenophobia in Germany has not gone unnoticed by the European Union. As a leading member state, Germany's commitment to democratic values and human rights is seen as crucial to the stability and unity of the European project. The European Commission Against Racism and Intolerance, or ECRI, an independent human rights body of the Council of Europe, has repeatedly expressed concerns about the situation in Germany. The European Union has called on Germany to strengthen its efforts to combat racism and discrimination, emphasizing the need for comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation, effective law enforcement, and public awareness campaigns to promote tolerance and understanding. Within Germany, the issue of racism has sparked a heated and often divisive public debate. Civil society organizations, human rights groups, and anti-racism activists have been vocal in raising awareness about the problem, organizing protests against discrimination, and advocating for policy changes to address systemic inequalities. They argue that Germany needs to confront its racist past more honestly and take concrete steps to create a more inclusive society. On the other side of the debate, conservative voices and right-wing groups often downplay the extent of racism in Germany, arguing that accusations of racism are exaggerated for political gain. They accuse their opponents of stifling free speech and promoting a culture of political correctness that prevents honest discussions about immigration, integration, and national identity. This polarization of the debate reflects a deeper societal divide over Germany's past, present, and future. The debate over racism in Germany is complex and multifaceted, touching upon issues of history, identity, and belonging. It is a debate that is likely to continue for many years to come as Germany grapples with its past, navigates the challenges of a globalized world, and strives to create a more just and equitable society for all its citizens. The rise of the AfD and the increasing visibility of far-right groups have added a sense of urgency to this debate, highlighting the fragility of democratic norms and the importance of confronting intolerance and discrimination in all its forms. The debate surrounding racism in Germany extends beyond the halls of government and into the streets, where the actions of law enforcement agencies come under intense scrutiny. Accusations of racial profiling by the police, particularly against people of color and individuals perceived as belonging to minority groups, have fueled distrust and anger toward law enforcement. Critics argue that racial profiling is a systemic problem within German police forces, leading to unjustified stops, searches, and arrests of individuals based solely on their race or ethnicity rather than on any suspicion of criminal activity. Instances of alleged police brutality against minority groups have further inflamed tensions and sparked outrage. While German authorities maintain that such incidents are isolated and do not reflect systemic racism within law enforcement, critics argue that they are symptomatic of a deeper culture of bias and impunity. The lack of comprehensive data collection on racial profiling and police misconduct makes it difficult to assess the true scale of the problem and fuels accusations of a lack of transparency and accountability. Adding to the complexity of the issue is the presence of far-right extremist elements within German police forces and security services. Reports of neo-Nazi chat groups involving police officers sharing racist content and expressing sympathy for extremist ideologies have shocked the nation. These revelations have raised serious concerns about the integrity of law enforcement agencies and their ability to uphold the law fairly and impartially. The German government has acknowledged the need to address these issues and has taken some steps to combat racism within law enforcement, including anti-bias training programs and initiatives to increase diversity within police forces. However, critics argue that these measures are insufficient and that more needs to be done to root out systemic racism, ensure accountability for misconduct, and rebuild trust between law enforcement agencies and the communities they serve. Germany's journey through the mire of racism has been long and arduous, a somber narrative woven into the very fabric of its history. From the hubris of colonial aspirations to the horrors of the Holocaust, the nation has witnessed the devastating consequences of unchecked prejudice. While the defeat of Nazi Germany brought an end to a dark chapter, the ghosts of the past continue to haunt the present. The reunification of East and West, a moment pregnant with hope, also exposed the deep fissures of resentment and intolerance that remained. The rise of the AfD and the persistence of racist violence serve as stark reminders that the battle against prejudice is far from over. The struggle for a truly inclusive Germany, one that acknowledges its past while embracing a future free from discrimination, remains a work in progress. The echoes of never again ring hollow when minority groups still face discrimination in housing, employment, and education. The ideal of equal protection under the law loses its luster when racial profiling by law enforcement remains a chilling reality for many. Germany stands at a crossroads, a nation grappling with its demons, seeking to reconcile its past with its aspirations for a more just and equitable future. The path forward for Germany lies in confronting its history honestly and acknowledging the systemic nature of racism. This requires a multi-pronged approach, one that tackles discrimination at its roots while fostering a culture of tolerance and understanding. Education plays a pivotal role, ensuring that future generations learn from the mistakes of the past and develop empathy for those who are different. strengthening anti-discrimination laws, promoting diversity in all sectors of society, and holding individuals accountable for acts of racism are crucial steps towards dismantling systemic barriers. The media has a responsibility to report on issues of race and racism responsibly, avoiding harmful stereotypes and providing a platform for marginalized voices. Confronting racism within law enforcement agencies is paramount, requiring greater transparency, accountability, and community engagement. Building trust between law enforcement and minority communities is essential for ensuring equal protection under the law and fostering a sense of safety and belonging for all citizens. The fight against racism in Germany is not merely a domestic issue, it is a global imperative. In an interconnected world, grappling with rising nationalism and xenophobia, Germany has a responsibility to lead by example. By confronting its own demons and striving to create a truly inclusive society, Germany can inspire other nations to do the same, fostering a more just and equitable world for generations to come.